No one had a seat. We're going to get started.
Yeah, I knew he'd wear his UK shirt, so I wore mine.
I like the same.
I knew it. I'd have bet on it.
Danny, you don't have assistants like I have. Yeah, all I see is a bunch of guys over there.
He's getting a picture.
That's okay.
You just don't wait.
Wait.
Yes,
She had the right color on.
Blue is teal.
yeah, she forgot.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, we're going to go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you talk. You got the floor.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, we want to thank all of you all for coming out, our customers and our partners, and supporting us on this great endeavor that we're making. We've been in the Lexington office for a long time now, but this is the first time we had a physical office, so this has been a long time coming. We've spent many years planning and looking for the right office, and so we're really excited about having this space here, and excited about all of you all supporting us and coming out today. And especially want to thank Mr. Hall for taking time out of his day to come out and to be with us here, and Mr. Crum for being out there with those guys. So thank you all very much, and thank you all very much. So we're going to go ahead and get started. These guys don't mean much of an introduction, but we do have, Bill, if you want to do it, or
Go ahead.
So, but we did find some interesting things in you guys that maybe you all may or may not know. So we have Mr. Coach Joby Hall, was born in Cynthia, Kentucky. Joby Hall attended the University of Kentucky and played on the National Championship basketball team in 1948. He also coached the UK Wildcats men's basketball team from 1972 to 85 and won UK's 5th Division I men's basketball championship in 1978. And Coach Hall was one of only 3 coaches to have played on a championship team and coach a team to the championship. Mr. Denny Crum is a native of San Bernardino, California. Mr. Crum attended Prince Junior College and played for John Wooden at UCLA. In 1971, Crum became Louisville's 17th head coach and led the Cardinals 6 times into the NCAA Final Four and twice winning the NCAA championship in 1980 and 1986. This accomplishment has made him only one of 10 coaches in this NCAA history to win 2 or more titles. Both coaches are dog lovers, are avid duck hunters, love fishing, and they have been friends for years. They have a daily radio show called the Joby Hall and Denny Crum Show. So let's start here by you guys telling us about y'all's radio show. I know I've tuned in several times, and it's always something different every day, and it's just really unique. So let's just start there by you all telling us a little bit about your radio show and how it came about, and just how I know y'all have a lot of fun with that.
Well, Joe, you tell them. I don't get to talk much on the radio show anyway.
Danny, I have a face for radio, but I don't know if I want to go this route or not. I was sitting at a drugstore doing a talk show with the Sonny and
Wimp
show out of Alabama. 2 basketball coaches in a football state having a radio talk show. They were out of place if anybody ever was. And when I got through, a friend of mine, Dick Robinson, wrote on a napkin and slid it over to me, and it said, "The Joby and Danny Show." And that's where the idea came from. And when we started the show, we announced that we were not going to be a encyclopedia of sports information, that we were going to be a feel-good show, and we were going to cover many issues including mop fighting, skydiving, whatever have you, but featuring a little bit on college sports, hunting, and fishing. And but believe me, we've covered every activity that you could think of,
including
and
cooking.
we enjoy very much. We're in our 9th year, and we still have, I'd say, 90% of the supporters that we had when we started. So we're doing something right, Danny, even though we don't know what it is.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Paycheck's still spent.
But main thing, we have a lot of fun. Every day I go in the studio, I feel like something interesting is going to happen. There's going to be a caller that brings up something that is just unique and fun to talk about. And was it yesterday we had the skydiver that broke the state skydiving record?
And the parachuter.
The Army paratrooper veteran come in and be in the studio when we discuss skydiving with Troy.
Anyway, I'm
from Lawrenceburg.
I'm ready to go skydiving.
He jumped 80 times in one day.
Not me.
This guy.
He's talking about the guy, our guest.
If I do that, I want somebody to take me right to my psychiatrist. Really fast. But
You guys never run out of mystery guests either, do you, on the show every week?
No, there's always a good mystery guest. We had Dave Vergone on
Jerry
today.
Tarkanian, Dick Vitale. We've had all kinds of announcers and sports personalities that have been our mystery guests. Today it was Dave Vergone, the former quarterback at University of Louisville. We've had really great guests. And I guess that's kind of cheating because sometimes I think they're the more the meat of the program than Denny and I are.
That's okay. We're happy just to be on, and I think one thing that's happened as a result of us being on is there's a lot of people that, they thought Joe and I, they must have thought we hated each other because we were rivals, but that's not the case. I mean, Joe and I never had a problem getting along, and we always were respectful, and I admired what Joe did and how he did it. And of course, I had a couple teams that would have beat his team if we'd have got together, but it didn't happen that way.
I never thought you did a whole lot more than good recruiting.
Well, you got to be a good recruiter if you don't know anything about coaching.
But people don't understand, but one of the closest fraternities in all business are coaches, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, because we all suffer the same problems. And if ever people should get along, it's those that work in the same surroundings and know each other's problems. And when Denny and I would meet at the Final Four or even in games in Freedom Hall or Rupp Arena, first thing we'd mention was where was our last fishing trip. And we'd spend more time talking about fishing than we would anything else. We're both avid fishermen. We've been many times together fishing. We've been in duck blinds, goose blinds, just having great fun. And that's what people should do that are in competition. Learn to get along. Doesn't hurt steal their ideas. But other than that, and out-recruit them, but other than that, be able to be friends and enjoy what you do.
Who's caught the biggest fish?
Well, he has to caught the
yeah,
biggest fish. And it depends, I guess, on which trip you're talking about. Now, if it was fly fishing and trout fishing, it was probably me. But if it was bass fishing, I don't know. I have to give Joe probably the nod there. He's so much older than I am. He's done it many, many more times. I'll have to
And he
extra
should
4
have said
years to
more
catch up.
experience.
He was born in 1892. He's been around a long time. So.
Oh, I wish.
So, coaches, let me ask you guys a question. How do you think this technology would have changed your recruiting ventures back in the day?
Then he probably wouldn't have recruited anyone. If he'd been able to see him like this. He usually sent an assistant.
Well,
This is unbelievable.
If I'd have had to show them Crawford Gymnasium to practice and play in, we might not have ever gotten anyone. Fortunately, we had Freedom Hall. So,
Well, I think having a facility or a technology like this to go into the home of a recruit, and it would accelerate your understanding between coach and prospect and family. I think you could come across a lot better person to person than you could writing letters or talking over the phone. And more than just what you say, but being able to see each other's body language is a big thing. And I think you come across a lot better if you're open and what you're saying is visual as well as being able to hear it. And this is unbelievable.
yeah, I saw this on Star Trek 25 years ago.
Oh, so Dave, you want to talk about some of the statistics you found out, what some of the coaches are doing with some of this technology?
Right. Well, to kind of pick up on that conversation, that's already started down in Alabama. I know Nick Saban in their athletic offices, they have this on their end, and then several of the high schools in the area have another unit on their end. So they're actually talking to the kids in the high school, and this does not count as a call or a visit. It's internet based, so it's certainly an advantage that's starting to be taken advantage of now.
Well, there's a lot of new social medias that we didn't have when Joe and I were coaching that could be of value to you. And I don't know what would be better than to be able to go into a recruit's home or even to his high school and talk with him and his high school coach and the principal and the counselors. Because, I mean, you have to do that all in person. Just getting in to see a principal or a counselor half the time was really tough to do. Their schedule's busy like yours, and you get there, and then you want to get a copy of their transcripts, and you got to go see a guidance counselor, and she's got to teach in a class somewhere, and so you got to. I mean, there's so many issues and problems when you're trying to do everything in person, whereas this could alleviate and really speed up the process of any face-to-face issues that you might have or anything that you'd want to learn about someone.
What about letting your prospects and high school coaches watch your practice? And maybe even attend clinics. When you give clinic instruction and you're up there at the blackboard and he's got his old team and coaches out there watching, that'd be a very helpful thing. I think
you'd have probably never got any players if they'd have watched your practice. They said, that's too brutal.
They loved that karate defense.
Oh, yeah, they did. So did we until we had to play against it. Then it wasn't near so much fun. Trying to fight Roby and Phillips and those guys, that was a test.
So on the subject of recruiting, did you guys ever bump heads in the same backyard recruiting back in the day, or just kind of stay out of each other's way?
No, I mean, we recruited some of the same kids. It's an interesting thing because if you were fortunate as a head coach. A lot of times you had individuals that supported your program that had private airplanes, and you could do your practice and still get to a game. I mean, I had a good friend that his company had a jet helicopter. And so if I'd go anywhere between here and Nashville or anywhere in the state of Kentucky or southern Indiana, when I'd get done practice, I'd zip to the airport and they'd fly me in. We'd land on a football field, you know, and I'd get to go in and still could watch their practices or talk to them and their coaches. And you know, if you didn't have that luxury, then you'd have to go the next day or something, and then you'd have to miss your practice. And I mean, so logistically, something like this would just, I mean, it would just make everything we did so much easier and better, for that matter.
More effective. Certainly save a lot of money also, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what it would cost to
reasonable.
set this kind of thing up, but
It'd be cheaper than flying in that jet helicopter. I'm telling you that.
Hey, David.
Yep.
Dave, is Scott Daugherty there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's
do you
sitting at the
want to
table.
bring him up? Where is he at?
Sure. He come over here.
Yeah, just this is our Telepresence guru. He's with Cisco Systems, and he knows all the ins and outs on this system, what we're using today. So, Scott, if you want to interject any time, and
Like we're recording today, right? We are recording this, correct? So can you talk about kind
What's this practical from our usage? A high school having this equipment.
Well, just like you said, if a high school has this and you can see the administrators or the players face to face, I mean, that would absolutely apply. You know, we've got units that are like this, very large screen, large conference room, but we also have personal units that can go down to the desktop computer or down to an iPad or
Could
something.
they go into the gym and watch practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think so maybe we ought to explain what we have set up for you guys here today. So we're doing what's called a point-to-point, right? And we're using the internet. So there's nothing special. We didn't buy anything, any high-end circuits or any dedicated pipe for this. This is just the internet, right? So then the other thing we're doing with it is we're recording it, so then we can play it later on what's called digital media and push it out to screens or internet or whatever we want to do. And then we've also set up a live feed. So this is being streamed live to the internet, and people can go to our webpage today and click on it and watch it from wherever they're at.
Right.
And then for you guys in that situation, right, you could record it so you could actually say what you did say to this person, what you didn't say. So if there's ever any allegations that you shouldn't have said this or did, it's recorded and you say, here's what was said.
Absolutely.
boy,
The NCAA will find a way, Denny, to make it. I don't know what they're thinking, but they'll come up with something.
You'll be glad to know the NCAA uses this technology. I'm from Indianapolis. I happen to call on them, and they use this technology themselves. And we have talked to them at great length about how many universities have this technology, but not necessarily in the athletic department. And I think they're starting to see the benefit of having that expand beyond just the academic parts of the universities that are members of.
How about homeschooling or taking correspondence courses, things like that? Is that a usage of this? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Be right in the classroom and
Yep.
sitting at home taking notes.
Or if you were a teacher, you could take a session like what we're doing, or maybe somebody else is teaching a certain subject and show it to your class.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that would be great.
what we're not showing today is you can actually tie this into a PC and share your PC's desktop. So you can share a PowerPoint or Excel or whatever you wanted to go through and talk, diagrams or anything like that, and talk through it also. But we're
I
not
don't
showing
even
that.
know how to use my cell phone yet. So.
So I guess maybe I could ask a question for you guys. Which coaches do you think today, right, is doing a good job out there in the coaching field? Which ones do you admire?
I'd be remiss if I left anybody out. I think coaches in general, their compassion about what they do. It comes down to who's the most successful. It's not always the best coaches. It definitely takes talent to demonstrate coaching ability. And when we had more talent, we were better coaches.
Oh, I was a lot better when I had better players. Yeah. Coach Wooden said he'd rather have talent without experience than experience without talent, and I think we can all agree with that. But over the years, every year is going to be different for coaches. I mean, you're going to have some years you're going to have maybe some great talent, but there's just something that doesn't mix or that doesn't fit together, and you got to give Coach Patino and Coach Calipari credit. Coach Patino's team was up and down all year long, and they couldn't get anything. Then all of a sudden, when they all got healthy at the end, and they played together, and they ended up in the Final Four, which they lost 3 of their last 4 regular season games. Nobody could have predicted that. The year before, UConn wins. They finished 7th in the Big East and win the national championship. And look at what Coach Calipari did with some freshmen and a couple of sophomores and 1 senior this year. I mean, you get guys that can get kids to play together and put all those petty jealousies and things out of it, and just be pulling for each other and helping each other and doing the things that your team needs, not so much what you need. Boy, I mean, you got to give those guys credit. They've done great jobs. It's fun to watch them. Of course, as a fan, you sit there, and that's what I do now. I'm just a fan. I just sit there and second guess them in my mind. I don't tell anybody what I'm thinking. But the bottom line is everybody doesn't do things the same way, and yet you can be successful doing it a different way than what I would do or what Joe would do. But Joe learned from a great coach in Adolph Rupp, and I was fortunate. I learned from Coach Wooden, and I don't think anybody could argue that if you were picking top coaches of all time, you'd have to put those 2 up there right close to the top of the list, if not at the top. And so we were both fortunate, and then I think they were both beneficial to our careers, and we were very fortunate to have had those experiences. So we draw on them all the time. I know I always refer to Coach Wooden because I learned so much from him, and I know Joe does with Coach Rupp.
What Danny said about you can win in so many different ways in all sports. I don't care if it's baseball or football or tennis or basketball, whatever. There are coaches, and when you try to judge coaches, you have to judge them on their final outcome, not what they do or what they don't do. When I go to a game, very few coaches coach exactly like I would, but they can be winners in whatever style they teach. And whether they're a slow break team, a fast break team, an early offense, or milk the clock, whether it's zone defense or pressure, whatever, there's so many ways that you can coach and still be a winner. And certainly no 2 coaches do it exactly the same. So in judging coaches, you pretty much have to judge on total success.
As with the NBA draft being tonight, and you're going to see so many guys out there that are one and done, obviously successfully, but that being the trend now, what's your opinion on that? I mean, it was kind of unthinkable, back in your days that a guy was going to be done after 1 year, and now that seems to be the norm for a lot of kids.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I know, kids, I don't think they should have to go 1 year. I mean, if if you come out of high school and you're a tuba player, and Louisville Symphony Orchestra wants you to come play your tuba in their orchestra, they don't say you got to go to 1 year of college or 2 years of college or 4 years of college. I mean, I think an education is great. Everybody that's qualified to get one should get it. And if you're not, it doesn't matter to me. I don't think you can say to kids you don't have a right to go work and to provide for your future family or for the family that you're already a part of. I think they should have that right. But I understand the NBA and the Players Association, and they all have their own interests, and I don't think it hurts a kid to have to go 1 year. I certainly don't object to that. I think just by osmosis, if no other reason, you're going to learn something, and you're going to be you have to learn to get along with people. You have to learn to do different things and learn about things that you might not think are that important right now, but somewhere down the road, the process of learning will help you. And I don't think that you can say that a kid should have to go or shouldn't have to go. I think it's probably not the best for college basketball that these kids leave after 1 year. I think it puts a lot of pressure on coaches, but gee, if you're like Coach Calipari and you just keep reloading with good players, I don't think he's complaining about it. So, and the Kentucky fans certainly aren't complaining about it. But there's a lot of different ways that things can be done, but I still feel like this is a free enterprise system, and we ought to be allowed to choose the way we make a living, and if we're qualified whenever, then I think that's the way it should be.
Why do you think they changed that rule, Danny?
I think there was a play.
We saw high school players, Moses Malone, Darryl Dawkins, Bill Willoughby. We saw those players go right out of high school into the pros. They did well. Why did the NBA change that rule?
I think it had more to do with the Players Association than it did the owners. I don't think it was an owner's rule or I think it had to do with the fact that these guys come out of high school and are taking roster spots on these teams, and they're some of them are ready, some of them are not ready, but they have to pay them, and maybe they're not ready to play, so they want them to go to college.
A veteran gets laid off.
Yeah, sure. I think was the big issue with the Players Association. They didn't want them taking their spots on their team, and you can't blame them for that. But
the NBA makes those rules, and the colleges have to live by them. But they're considering raising it to a 2-year requirement.
Well, in football and baseball, they have to They have to be 3 years in college before they can be drafted, and I don't have a problem if they put that rule in. I just think it's a thing that we're not going to be able to control, and the NBA is going to do what's best for the NBA, and in the process, sometimes other people get the short end of the stick. I know that I had some kids that went early, and Cliff Rozier and Samaki Walker and guys that left that thought they were ready and they really weren't, and they never got the opportunity. And I think there's a lot of kids that come out of high school. Kobe Bryant, I mean, there's not many players around much better than him, and yet he came right out of high school and went to he didn't have a college, but it wouldn't have hurt him to go to college for a year. I don't see how it would hurt anybody to go to college for a year.
Well, baseball, in my estimation, has the best of all rules. In baseball, a kid doesn't have to apply for the draft. He can get drafted, he can be offered a contract, he can turn it down, or he can accept it. If he turns it down, he can immediately be eligible for college. In basketball, once a player puts his name in the draft, he has no choice. But if they'd let these kids put their name in, see where they're drafted, make a decision on whether they want to sign a pro contract or go back to college. And then in baseball, if you go to junior college, you're eligible for the draft after 2 years. If you stay in college, you're not eligible until 3 years. And they have a rule that gives you a lot of flexibility, and it works out best for the kids. Of course, baseball has a farm system, which makes it good for them to draft a lot of young kids and put them into learning situations. And baseball's got really the best rules and the best of all other sports.
So I know there's a lot of buzz in both camps upcoming for the upcoming season. I think 1 and 2 in most of the polls. Are you guys close to the programs now, and do you have a sense of expectations and you know what's happening in the summer?
Well, Louisville should win it all this
Yeah.
year. They've got the experience and the talent. Coming off a great year, they've got a good recruiting class, and in a lot of the polls, they're ranked number 1 in the nation. So I think that's a great expectation for that school and that program. Kentucky, I think, be a top 5 team. Whether they come together as well as the team did last year, and they find the ingredients, survive all that youth that they'll have, they could finish at the top. So I think we're going to have a very interesting year here in Kentucky, with both programs being competitive, and the main thing, very entertaining.
I think Indiana's going to be in there too, Joe, don't
Well,
you?
Yeah.
They've got a team coming back that's going to be very competitive. It ought to be a really fun year around here.
Right.
Everybody will be comparing the teams and stuff, and what happens in December and stuff doesn't really mean much, but it's always nice when you play your rival, because it brings so much interest to the game. Joe and I have been big advocates of of the football programs both playing their game as the opening game of the year, because that way you start talking about it and you're in the news and talking about that all summer long. And instead, if you play the 3rd or 4th game, then you got to talk about all those other games before you get to the big rival game, and then it's probably not as important. But we like to see it start out the year like that. Now in basketball, as a coach, I wouldn't want to have to go play Kentucky the first game of the year. But if you looked at it with the kids Louisville's got coming back, this would be a good year to play Kentucky at the first game of the year. Yeah. So every year's different.
Working on that right now.
Yeah.
As we speak.
I think they don't play till the end of December, which is fine. Yeah.
I think we have one of the folks in the room who wanted to ask a question. Should you stand up and over here maybe, and we'll see you on both sides.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm from the Yum Center, actually, at least for right now I am. So I was there during the NCAA tournament, and the fact that we had 3 Kentucky teams play in that building in Kentucky kind of made us the center of the basketball universe. I don't care what anybody else says. How did you all feel about that? What did you think about? I mean, I know a lot of people who weren't even from here who I talked to were impressed that many Kentucky basketball teams were involved in the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's true, and The only reason Louisville wasn't is because they don't let you play on your home court when it comes tournament time, so they send you somewhere else. So we'd probably rather it be in Rupp Arena so that Louisville can go to Rupp Arena and play instead of having to go somewhere where your fans, can't afford to follow you. But no, it works good either way. It was great. And then we had Coach Davenport the year before winning the national championship here from Louisville, and with Bellarmine in the Division II category. And basketball here. There's so many good teams. And the year before, Louisville got beat by Moorhead in the first round of the tournament. And every year there's good basketball here. I know North Carolina and Duke and Wake Forest and those schools, they've got good basketball over there, but I don't think there's any place in the country better right now than it is right here. We're going to have Indiana, Louisville, and Kentucky all in the preseason top 5. And there's no other section of the country was going to have 3 of the top 5. They may have Duke and North Carolina, I don't know, in the top 5 over there in their country, but there won't be 3 of them.
Prairie State had good basketball last
absolutely.
few years, and that was an exciting team this year.
So maybe a question we could ask is, maybe what was a couple of your all's role models when you were growing up?
Oh gosh, I played with my role models. I went to the University of Kentucky in '47, and I was kind of in awe. I don't think I took a deep breath the whole time I was there. Ralph Beard, Wawa Jones, and Alex Groza, and Cliff Barker, and those players, Kenny Rollins, the Fabulous Five, were without doubt the best basketball team of that era. And I was a little freshman, and I felt like I should take a towel and wipe the sweat up rather than play. And but I guess that was the best basketball team that I was ever a part of, and other than coaching. And it got me off to a start of really understanding how basketball should be played. And when you played with that group and a coach like Coach Rupp, why, you were at the pinnacle of the game. And the Fabulous Five in their era were way ahead of anybody else at that time. They were playing fast break basketball, and if you ever saw Ralph Beard play, you'd know that he would fit the game today with his style back in the 40s. And it was really made a great impression on me, developed a great of the game.
Well, Coach Wooden was my role model, and actually there's somebody else too, and some of you might have seen him on TV the other night. I don't know if you got involved with the Olympic trials, but the track and field that they had a young man set a new world record in the decathlon. And I don't know the young man, but I was on a basketball team that one of our starting forwards was Rayford Johnson, who was the world decathlon champion for years. In fact, they interviewed him on TV the other night about the young kid that just set the world record in terms of points. They get points for certain times and certain heights, and this kid broad jump 26 something. He pole vaulted 17 feet something. He just did everything so well that it's just done. Just watch it. You know how? Can you imagine catapulting your body 7'4" over? I can't even. I don't know if I get my head that high anymore. But when you watch some of these athletes, the things they can do with the training and stuff that they have to go through today, Rayford, he was my roommate when we traveled on the road, and he was student body president at UCLA back in 1959. You know, and there were a lot of places in this country where black guys weren't involved with anything at different schools. I mean, Rayford Johnson was way ahead of his time in a lot of ways, and I just had a great admiration for him and all the things he could do. He was just a tremendous athlete and still a super person.
One of the greatest athletes I was ever associated with was Jesse Owens. And I toured Europe with him with the Harlem Globetrotters. And Jesse Owens put on halftime demonstrations of the hurdles. And they would set up folding chairs at the right distance on the basketball court, and he would run the hurdles holding a cup on a saucer, and it wouldn't even rattle. His head would stay perfectly even all the way through the hurdle. One of the smoothest athletes that you'd ever see. And a guy that you could sit on the bus with and never get bored for 2 or 3 hour trip talking to. He was one of the most gracious, one of the most humble athletes you'd ever meet, extremely intelligent, and one of the nicest guys you'd ever see. But he won 5 gold medals in 1936 in the Olympics, and that was the occasion where Hitler wouldn't stay for the presentation of his necklace. Sorry about that.
Saved by the bell.
Don't answer that, Joe.
Then he said that when I was in Rupp Arena, I got all the calls.
He did. Joe taught there's this defense that he liked to use. It was called a 1-3-1 zone. Well, I changed the name of it. It's a 1-3-1-3 because it's got those 3 striped shirts that help him. Yeah, he was real good at the 1-3-1-3.
All right. So, any questions from the audience? Anybody like to ask?
Ever been hunting with Bobby Knight?
No.
What was that?
Something about Bobby Knight.
Have you ever been hunting with Bobby Knight?
Oh.
I didn't know. My name's Tucker, not Sucker. No, if Bobby thought you were going to get more birds than he did, why, you never know what he might do. No, Bobby is a great sportsman and outdoorsman. He loves hunting and fishing, and we've talked many times about going fishing. But when I was coaching, the times I could get free, he was doing his basketball camp, and he couldn't go. So we never actually fished together. I don't know, Joe may have fished with him a time or two.
I fished with him many, many times. Fished with him in Indiana. He would come down for a football game. We'd fish in my streams. We fished in Colorado. We fished in Wyoming. And we had lots of good trips together.
Do you two
Dave,
watch
do you wanna-
basketball games together?
Do we watch basketball games together? Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
go to
watch
the high school and Joe has the seats there, so he gives me one of his seats, and then I have to buy the popcorn. But no, yeah, we watch games together. We enjoy watching games together. Because we can both give each other commentary and just talk about what we're seeing and who we like and who we don't like. And
Do you have to pay to go to your own home games for U of L or him for UK?
I don't know. Do you have to pay for your seats at
Yeah, I
UK?
buy my tickets.
Well, they're kind of cheap up there. Yeah, Louisville
You're not
doesn't
talking
make
about
me
the
pay.
tickets.
Of course, you got to remember now, I stayed there 30 years as a coach. And I still work there. I'm 41 years now at Louisville. That's a long
Well,
time.
I only worked 20 years, Danny.
I know
So
you
maybe
did.
that's the difference.
Joe got out when the getting was good.
Coach Crum, I know you, Boice as a company, we're very active with regard to charitable organizations and helping the community. And I know I listen to your show whenever I can, Joe Speed's show as well. Can you describe a little bit more about Blessings in a Black Backpack and how that benefits?
The questions about best blessings in a backpack. The way that works is there are certain schools here that kids that attend those schools, their families don't have anything, and they come to school and they actually feed them breakfast and then they feed them lunch during the week, so that they know they're at least getting 2 meals a day. But then on the weekends, when they go home, they don't know if they're going to eat from Friday till Monday. So what they do is we get different companies and different restaurants and different places. They provide food and stuff, and we put food. We fill these backpacks full of food, and we give them to the kids on Friday afternoon. So when they go home on the weekend, they know they're going to have enough to eat for that weekend. So it's a great program. We run a poker tournament here, Southern Gaming, which does the magazine for gambling in this area, does a great job of promoting that and sponsoring it, and we get some of the professional poker players from around the country come in and join us, and we actually go fill the backpacks for the kids and talk to them and stuff, and it's a great group of kids that you want to help. But that's a program that I'm very proud of being a part of, because they do such a great thing, and it's actually a nationwide program now. It's growing and growing. There's a lot of places doing it that never had done it before, and a lot of them. Kentucky Harvest, which was started by Stan Curtis here in Kentucky. I was one of the first ones that got on board with him on that, because I thought it was a great idea. It's nationwide now in terms of providing food for people that don't have any, so you can't get much more basic than that.
Any other questions here?
I've got a question. Does anybody here have any knowledge of truth of advertising? Eddie, do you understand that?
I'm not
Bill?
sure.
Suzanne? Truth of advertising.
Somewhat, yeah.
You know, this logo of the UK Wildcat, and you see his fangs and his teeth. Mm-hmm. But did you ever see a bird with teeth?
We did in 1984, didn't we, Coach?
Maybe we gummed out our victory, but I can remember the first one in 1983 in Knoxville, when I don't know, those cats. For cats, they didn't jump very good, because we just outflew them in overtime. I guess that's.
They go for about 40 minutes, maybe the cats do, but the birds go for 45. So. 45. That's right.
Coach, rumor has it there's a Tar Heel fan in Lexington. Maybe y'all could elaborate on some of your favorite experiences playing against Dean Smith and any Joe B.
Joe used to play him every year.
Yeah, Dean was a very innovative coach, and he forced the change in rules. He brought about the clock by using that four-corner stall offense, that was going to wreck the game if it continued. People were going to quit watching basketball. But Dean was an excellent coach. He was a good recruiter. He built a great program at North Carolina. He did it the right way. And always, North Carolina, when you played them, they were a benchmark for competition. You knew you were playing the best. It gave you a good idea what kind of team you had. And as you prepare your team each year, you prepare it thinking about the best teams that you're going to play. And that puts a pressure on you to get your team up to excellence. And Dean Smith at North Carolina forced you to think of having your team ready to play.
He was pretty smart too, because he said he'd play us if we wanted to come to North Carolina, but he wouldn't come to Louisville to play. So,
well, there were some years he wouldn't play me, didn't he?
He was a great coach, really a great coach,
was.
Really was.
One of the best.
Scott, you got anything you'd like to say from New Albany?
No, I really appreciate being a part of this event. Thank you for hosting us and letting us be a part of it.
Hey, Scott, I was going to see, can you control the zoom on that lens from where you are? Say, Denny's got it on here. I was going to have him hold it up and see how tight you could zoom in that lens to see if those guys could see. We're going to take it off. Just hold your hand up.
Well, I just...
Yeah.
See his food.
Yeah, and he's got two of those. How do you decide which one you wear on a certain day?
Well, this happens to be my Hall of Fame ring, so
there you go.
I can wear that and represent my career rather than just one individual year. But
What's that?
Joe's got some of those too. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll close on that from here.